Have you ever stopped to think that not every friend is what they seem? Sometimes, behind a smile, there's a plan, a hidden intention. Who warns us about this is Machiavelli, the master of strategy and the power game. According to him, many human relationships, even the closest bonds, are tools. Tools to conquer, manipulate, dominate. The feeling isn't always real. Often it's an act, cold, calculated. Now imagine this. What if some people in your closest circle were using you, pretending to be loyal, but actually looking for an advantage? And even worse, secretly hoping you fail without you even noticing. Maybe what seems like affection is just strategy. And the smartest advice you can hear today is open your eyes. Before we continue, make sure your notification bell is turned on. That way, you won't miss any content like this, and you'll always stay one step ahead when it comes to strategy, power, and the truths that almost no one talks about. Machiavelli, the author of the classic The Prince, saw human beings in a very practical and even harsh way. For him, emotions don't always drive people. More often than not, what guides our actions are interests, and that includes even friendship. According to Machiavelli, a friendship may seem sincere, but deep down can be just a strategy, a disguise. He believed that a true leader, or anyone who wants to maintain power and influence, must learn to use human connections wisely. Pretending to be a friend when necessary can be more effective than showing true loyalty. In his view, we must be alert. Not all affection is real. Many times, smiling at someone is simply a strategic move to gain an advantage. And the most dangerous part is that this doesn't happen only among politicians or kings. It's present in everyday relationships. You know that friend who only shows up when they need something, or the one who compliments you too much, but something feels off? Machiavelli would tell you that person isn't wrong for acting like that. They're just playing the power game, where those who don't understand the rules end up being used as pawns. He argued that the wisest thing to do is not to trust blindly, but to observe. Observe behaviors, observe interests, observe what is left unsaid. And have you ever noticed a friendship that seemed genuine but was actually just a game of interests? Based on what we've discussed about Machiavellian relationships, have you ever felt manipulated by someone you called a friend? Or maybe you've been the one to use that strategy. Share your experience in the comments. I'd love to know what you think about this dynamic of friendships. Have you ever suspected someone or found a friend who was more interested in what you could offer than in who you are? Let's talk about it. Machiavelli wasn't saying true friendships don't exist. What he warned is that many friendships are formed purely out of convenience, and when they're no longer useful, they're discarded. Just like that. That's why he believed a ruler, or any strategic person, needs to know when to keep a friend close and when it's better to walk away. In that context, friendship becomes a tool, a means to an end. Maybe that sounds cold, but to Machiavelli, it was simply realism. Life, to him, is a game where not everyone plays fair, and those who don't understand that end up being manipulated by those who do. It's as if friendship were a bridge. Sometimes it serves to bring people together. Other times, it's just a path for someone to get what they want. And when it's no longer useful, that bridge is burned, without mercy, without guilt. He said something like, "Pretending to be a friend can be more advantageous than showing true loyalty." That phrase sums up a lot of his philosophy. It's not about distrusting everyone. It's about not falling into emotional traps set by strategic people. How many times has someone come close to you with good intentions, but over time you realized it was all about their own interests? How many times has a friendship turned into pressure, manipulation, or envy? Machiavelli would tell you, it's more common than you think. And the mistake isn't just in those who do it, but also in those who don't see it coming. The advice here is simple and powerful. Analyze, observe, question. It's not about cutting people off. but about understanding the role each person plays in your life. Not every friendship is a trap, but the ones that are tend to be the most dangerous, precisely because they come disguised as care, attention, and partnership. Machiavelli believed that in order not to be manipulated, you need to learn to think like those who manipulate. And that starts with recognizing that not every friend wants what's best for you. So before trusting blindly, ask yourself silent questions. What does this person gain by being close to me? How do they behave when I'm doing well and when I'm not? Do they celebrate my achievements or stay silent? This reflection isn't about paranoia, it's about clarity. And as Machiavelli clearly showed us, in the game of life, those who don't understand the pieces become part of someone else's plan. If this content made you reflect on the friendships in your life, leave a like. Just one click helps the channel reach more people who need to open their eyes to the truth behind relationships. Throughout history, kings, generals, and politicians have always used friendships as bait to gain power, manipulate situations, and control their allies. History is full of examples of how friendship was used as a strategic tool with no regard for genuine loyalty. The most famous and tragic case is that of Julius Caesar, the Roman emperor, who was brutally assassinated by his closest friend, Brutus. They had a relationship of trust, but Brutus, with his ambition and personal interest, used that friendship as a way to achieve his own goals. In Brutus's mind, he was doing good by removing Caesar from power, but in reality, he was just manipulating his trust to serve his own desires. This betrayal is a clear example of how friendship can be used as a tool for manipulation. Machiavelli, the master of strategy, argued that in the world of politics and power, friendships are often not what they seem. He believed that a smart ruler should not cling to the idea of true loyalty, but instead use the people around him while they were useful. Machiavelli said that pretending friendship can be more advantageous than showing true loyalty. This does not mean he rejected friendship, but he saw human relationships as transactions that should be used strategically. And what happens today in the modern world? Manipulation through friendships has not disappeared. It has only transformed and taken new forms. If you want to keep receiving content like this and always stay one step ahead, subscribe to the channel. Every new subscription helps bring more videos with important reflections for your life. Don't miss the chance to be part of this community that seeks to understand the true dynamics around us. Today, manipulation can be seen in many ways, but the principles remain the same. The difference is that the masks have changed, but the game is still the same. In business, we often see people who approach you just to take something. Friendships in the corporate world can be based on specific interests, not on genuine affinity or respect. Executives surround themselves with allies as long as those allies are helping them achieve their goals. When they are no longer useful, these allies can be discarded without remorse, as Machiavelli would suggest. On social media, we see friendships and relationships manipulated by followers, influencers, and even companies. The algorithms of social platforms are designed so that people connect with what they think they like, but most of the time, they are just being manipulated to consume more content, often without realizing it. Influential people use their online friendships to build an image and sell products, while their followers are blinded by this facade of friendship. In our social circle, in our daily lives, there is also manipulation. How many times have you noticed someone getting close to you out of interest? If you have something to offer, whether a connection, a favor, or a benefit, you may attract these strategic friendships. Machiavelli might see these situations as a way for individuals to get close to one another to gain personal advantage. Manipulation in this case occurs when friendship is merely a means to an end. So, as we can see, Machiavelli's theory of friendship as a tool of power and manipulation still applies remarkably today. What he said about human behavior remains relevant, whether in politics, business, social media, or our personal lives. Throughout history, friendships have been used as bait, both by historical figures like Julius Caesar and by people today. For Machiavelli, true friendship did not exist when power was at stake. He saw the world as a place where manipulation was always present, and friendships were just another instrument to achieve what one desired. Today, manipulation continues. Machiavelli's strategies are still in action, and we might not even notice. Therefore, when looking at your own friendships, maybe it's time to reflect. Are all the people around you really there because they care about you, or are they just waiting for you to be useful to them? And even more importantly, are you being genuine with those around you? Or do you also use friendship as a strategy to achieve your own goals? These questions can help us understand the dynamics of power and manipulation in our own lives, just as Machiavelli would suggest. Is this happening to you? Have you ever come across those people who only show up when they need something, or who are always saying they're there to help you, but in the end, you find yourself wondering what their real interest is? Maybe you've felt manipulated by someone who, instead of truly supporting you, just gives empty compliments and demands favors in return. These situations are not uncommon. They happen in many relationships, and Machiavelli had already warned about the danger of people who fake friendship. He said that in the world of power and strategy, it's essential to be aware of those who approach you with questionable intentions. Machiavelli knew that friendship, when misused, can be a powerful tool of manipulation. Do you know someone who only shows up when they need something? The person who disappears when you're doing well, but reappears when they need something. Machiavelli would say that this person is using friendship as a means to achieve their own goals, with no real interest in your well-being, compliments you too much, but never truly supports you. Have you noticed that there are people who are always telling you how amazing you are, but when you really need support, they're silent? That's because for them, the compliment isn't genuine. It's just a way to gain your trust and manipulate the situation in their favor. Machiavelli would see this as a way to create a mask of friendship with no real commitment, always helping you but asking for favors later. When someone helps you but always makes it clear they expect something in return, that's a clear sign of manipulation. Machiavelli believed that people often approach with the promise of help, but deep down, they want to ensure you'll be in debt to them. They do something for you, but that help comes with a future demand, as a way to make sure you'll be easier to manipulate later. Machiavelli would warn you, beware of those who smile too much. Those who fake friendship are hiding their interests. This quote from Machiavelli reveals a fundamental warning about those around us with hidden intentions. That smile, that friendly gesture may be a disguise. Often, the people who show the most affection are the ones who have the most to hide. False friendship is one of the most common tactics used by those seeking to control or manipulate others, and Machiavelli knew this. He teaches us that in politics and in power relations, alliances are not made out of genuine friendship, but out of interest. People approach each other because they see a benefit in it. And the problem is that in many cases, these alliances are not as transparent as they seem. The idea of strategic friendship is a reality we still see in our daily lives. Even outside politics or the business world, in our personal lives, we also encounter these types of manipulation. The question is, have you ever felt manipulated by a friendship like this? Have you felt that someone was being overly friendly, but always with a purpose behind it? Maybe you have something to offer, and that's what keeps this person close to you. Or maybe that person is just waiting for the right moment to collect what they think they deserve from you. Machiavelli suggested that rulers and intelligent people need to be aware of these manipulation games. He recommended that to protect yourself, you should be careful with who you associate with, because not every friendship is what it seems to be. How can you avoid falling into this trap? Machiavelli would say that to avoid being manipulated, it's essential to observe people's actions, not just their words. True friendship is shown through actions and real support, not empty compliments or self-serving favors. Pay attention to the signs and don't be afraid to cut ties when you realize someone is approaching you for the wrong reasons. If you notice that someone is coming close just to get something or always demands favors in exchange for things you didn't even ask for, maybe it's time to rethink that friendship. Manipulation can be subtle, but the signs are there. Machiavelli knew this and warns us so we can make more conscious decisions in our relationships. Know that you understand how friendships can be used strategically. It's time to learn how to protect yourself from manipulation. Machiavelli didn't leave us without answers. He had a practical approach, and we'll use his teachings to defend ourselves from these power games. First, evaluate behaviors, not words. Words can be very convincing. That person who always says they support you, who's by your side, who admires you. But Machiavelli teaches us that more important than what a person says is what they do. True. Friendship is shown through actions, not words. So observe whether this person really behaves like a friend in difficult situations, or if their words are just a disguise for something else. Observe if the friendship lasts when you're not offering anything. One of the biggest lessons Machiavelli teaches us is that relationships are based on interests. He saw alliances as an exchange of benefits, and friendship is no exception. Ask yourself, when you have nothing to offer, is this person still by your side? When there's nothing left at stake, do they remain present? If the answer is no, then it's likely that this person is only in your life as long as they can get something from you. Machiavelli said that in any type of relationship, we must understand both parties' interests. If you realize that someone only seeks you out when they need something, it's time to reevaluate the friendship. A true friendship is resilient, even when there's nothing to be gained. Ask yourself, does this person value me or use me? That's the key question. Machiavelli didn't believe that all relationships should be discarded, but he suggested we be strategic. For him, intelligence in relationships was fundamental. This means that in any friendship or alliance, we must be able to identify whether the person truly values us or is just using us as a tool to reach their own goals. Ask yourself, does this person care about my well-being, or are they only by my side while I'm useful? The answer to this question will help you see whether the relationship is genuine or just manipulation. Machiavelli believed that by understanding the interests of those around you, you can avoid falling into traps others may set in your path. Be cordial, but keep your emotional power in your own hands. In his works, Machiavelli always spoke about the importance of controlling your emotions in power relations. He didn't preach hate, but emotional intelligence. That is, even if you notice someone is trying to manipulate you, keep your composure and control your reactions. Don't let emotion dictate your actions. He suggested that you be polite and respectful, but never let anyone take control of your feelings or decisions. When you keep emotional power in your hands, you don't become vulnerable to manipulation tactics. This doesn't mean you need to be cold or distant, but that you need to maintain your emotional balance without allowing others to play with your weaknesses. Machiavelli didn't preach hate, but intelligence in relationships. Machiavelli never suggested that the response to manipulation should be hate or revenge. What he taught was the importance of understanding the dynamics of power in relationships and acting intelligently. For him, true strength lay in knowing when to trust someone and when to walk away. Instead of letting emotions lead, he suggested people use reason and cunning to make strategic decisions. Machiavelli saw the world of relationships as an arena where, to survive and thrive, It was necessary to have control over one's own emotions and act rationally. He didn't advocate staying away from all people, but being aware of what's at stake in each relationship. The truth is harsh. You might just be a piece on someone else's chessboard, and as Machiavelli would say, friendship is useful until the moment it ceases to be. That phrase sums up everything we've discussed so far. Machiavelli understood that in a world where power and interests are always at play, human relationships, including friendships, are often treated as tools. No matter how much someone seems to be your friend, the true value of a friendship, according to Machiavelli, lies in how much it contributes to that person's own goals. Machiavelli's phrase reflects the idea that the people around us are often not there out of loyalty or genuine affection. They may be with us because, at that moment, there is something to gain. When that usefulness disappears, the friendship also dissolves, and the person may vanish from your life without warning. But don't be fooled. This doesn't only happen to other people. Manipulation and the use of friendships as a means to achieve personal goals are present in our everyday lives. You may be the main character in your own story, but you must be aware that there are those who might use your image or trust to achieve their own ends. Machiavelli teaches us to be strategic and not naive, to understand what's at stake and to play the game of life intelligently. In the game of life, those who don't understand strategy become targets. This is a fundamental lesson Machiavelli left us. In any area of life, whether in personal relationships, at work, or even in politics, those who cannot perceive the power games being played around them end up becoming vulnerable. Those who don't think strategically can be easily manipulated and used by those who know how to play. Machiavelli believed that life is a game of power and that in order to survive, one must understand the dynamics of relationships. It's not about being cynical or distrustful, but about being smart in the choices you make. He warned us about the importance of knowing when to trust someone and when to walk away. The most important thing is not to let others decide for you. Control over your actions, emotions, and choices should always be in your hands. Therefore, by following Machiavelli's teachings, you begin to realize that in many situations, the most important thing is not just what people say, but what they really want. True friendship, according to Machiavelli, is not a matter of affection, but of utility and mutual interests. When that utility ends, you must be prepared to accept reality and move on. So, how can you apply this Machiavellian view to your life? Apply Machiavelli's strategies wisely. Don't be swayed by sweet words or empty compliments. Observe the actions and attitudes of the people around you. Constantly ask yourself, is this person with me out of interest or genuine friendship? How do they behave when there's nothing to gain? This is the kind of strategic analysis Machiavelli would suggest to ensure you don't fall into traps of manipulation and betrayal. Machiavelli did not preach total distrust, but wisdom in choices. He didn't want you to be suspicious of everyone, but to have the ability to see what's really behind each relationship. Deep down, Machiavelli's message is clear. Be strategic, be intelligent, and never lose sight of your own interests. Did you like the content? Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to open their eyes, because not everyone who calls you a friend wants what's best for you. Machiavelli would warn us to always be aware of the interests behind people's words and actions. Sometimes what looks like friendship may be a tool for manipulation. Only those who understand the rules of the game can protect themselves from such treacherous moves. Now, with Machiavelli's teachings in mind, you can observe your friendships and relationships more critically and strategically. By understanding that people often have hidden interests, you become stronger and more capable of making smarter decisions about others. After all, those who don't understand strategy end up becoming targets. So don't be naive. Play the game intelligently.